Greetings. Welcome to Orleans Finance and Investment Committee meeting. Chair G. Wade Wooten,
Present.
Mr. Hunter Thomas. And we have board member John. Okay, we will proceed with this meeting.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, great. So, turning to item 2, old business. The proposed budget for FY 2023 in the packet. From Byron.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, committee members. So the final pass of the budget, this budget will be up for board approval. So we presented the preliminary budget. Based on that meetings and adding funds, capital expenditure line with the renovation and possible maintenance. So that has been 70,000 a year. Outside. Just the total revenues that is 811,000. Consists of 15,000 in interest income generated from our cash accounts that was within. We have 30 single family issue bond budgeting 250,000 grant operating grant revenue, and then the majority of our revenue is in the multifamily line, which is 508,000. That consists of pilot and conduit bond issuances. So we're budgeting 5 pilot transactions and 2 conduit transactions in FY 2023. And then on the expense side, overall, we've lowered the budget from 2.3 in FY 22's budget to 2 million in this budget. So that's a 9% decrease. The biggest driver there is the salaries and benefits line, which we're not looking to replace our open positions at this time. We're going to do more with less. And we're going to leverage our consultants more to fill in those gaps. The other driver is that capital expenditure line. You'll see that's decreased by 70,000. We had 140 budget last year, budget is 70,000 this year. And so those lines have been slightly offset by the increases in the capital. The consultants, professional services, and business development lines. As I mentioned, we do have a slight increase in the operating maintenance line, and that's due to our office lease. We have a slight increase there. And then technology services, where we want to spend some investments in improving our technology and bringing it to CRM, customer relationship management, enterprise risk management, data, enterprise infrastructure. And so that line has been slightly increased as well. And then the other thing to point out is the marketing and advertising line. We didn't really deploy our marketing efforts this year. So you can see in that projected 22 line, it's minimal. And so we just decided to leave that incentive there. We had election. These programs. And then just looking once again at the projected line, there's not much difference from what we seen last month. The projection is pretty much the same, so we still have favorability of roughly 500,000 versus our budget. So our projected, what we plan on end of the year, so our budget, we have favorability in that space.
Just have one question on the marketing advertising. What forms of, like what meetings we're talking about? I mean, because I can think of, go far enough back to like billboards and stuff, bus stops. I'm just curious. I don't have an opinion on that.
Yeah, well, there's radio, there's advertisement that we initially had budgeted there, but we've been having conversations with consultants as well. And some of that expense will be tied to consultant, having a consultant come and tell us, dictate where we need to be. And we just had a conversation last week, and it was interesting because one of the consultants said radio might not be as quick. So we have internally seen some line items, but we're gonna rely on some.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I guess as we get more input, I guess it's something more formalized going forward.
Yeah, that's the idea, is to come together with the marketing plan.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions or comments? I didn't even do that. Recommend. Okay, so based on, well, thank you for the presentation. And Chair, I'd like to recommend that this get escalated to the full board for review and discussion and then determination whether they're to approve it, modify it, etc. Okay. I guess.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
gonna
so
to the
fine, the report.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
I guess we can't go with that. So yeah, we'll move to the finance and investment report. As I do, I'll start off with the market update, then we'll move into the financial budget balance. So the markets have been anticipating the CPI data, and that came out yesterday, and it showed that inflation slowed more than expected. Which is a good sign for the Fed. It's a good sign for consumers as well. It actually increased 7.1 year over year. The expectation was 7.3. And as we know, last month it was 7.7. So moving in the right direction. We had 18 months of fast increases. And so we're finally seeing the slowing there. Now, although that reading was favorable, it did not change the Fed's plan to raise interest rates. And they actually just made that decision about an hour. So they raised a 0.5 percentage points, which is a smaller bump from the 75 in the previous four meetings. So the rate sits at 4.25 and 4.5 target space there. But they also released projections showing that they expect to raise rates to 5.1 before they finish their cycle. So I think the market didn't expect this. So you'll see the data market kind of turned when they heard this, because that's probably a little higher than they expected. But they did also say that they plan to keep rates higher all the way through 2023. They won't be any reductions until 2023. So that's what they came out today. Maybe that'll change, but that was kind of the language that came out. Overall rates month over month did drop slightly, which is different position, different term from what we've seen. And that just was market sentiment expecting that CPI number to come. So we saw rates across the board drop. Mortgage rates actually declined for the last 4 consecutive weeks. So that's kind of a good sign as well. And then on the employment side, it remained unchanged month over month at 3.7. No change there. And then locally, the Orleans Parish unemployment rate was 4.1, and that came in lower than the previous month, 4.8. So that's it. All right, we'll move on to the budget variance analysis. So not much activity in the month of November. So year to date, our actual revenues are at 222,000, to a budget of 736,000. You know that multifamily line is probably there. We didn't have any deals that closed. We do have a robust pipeline. We have projects in underwriting, some right pipeline. So we'll really start the year pretty strong in that side. So, on the expense side, 1.6 actual year to date expenses to a budget of 2 million. So we're figuring limited there. 503 I mentioned earlier. We probably close out with that. Next page. 13-month trending. You see we had a slight bump month over month in revenues. Expense side was lower. For the past 2 months, we've been trending below the average. And pretty quiet. Next page is the budget. The balance sheet year over year for the operating fund. Not much change here, but no more activity. The composition remains the same. So nothing to point out there. Next, we have our pathways for portfolio fund. No activity here.
Check a question. You go back, balance sheet comparison.
Yeah.
There was. I brought it up a couple meetings ago. The capital piece, the liability and capital. I remember the context we're discussing it, but it had to do with the new arrangements and like the term I apologize. Basically like we weren't. So with the lease and the actually the pilots, thank you. It's my mind. Oh man. So with the pilots, we've got the I guess the title's in our name, we're leasing it back to them. And the question was.
Yeah, probably
the
trying to get to,
evaluation.
trying to get to if we can account for the
Yeah.
pilots on our.
Yeah, which is really, I guess our accountants probably have to weigh in, but
Yeah,
I guess the question is it something to check into on a go forward basis, or is it just too edgy? You could
Yeah.
waste your time.
I've had that conversation with the audience several times. And they've been checking into it and kind of digging through our
Yeah.
lease documents. And I think it's really a fuzzy area.
Okay.
there. I did check Baton Rouge, they do pilots.
Yeah.
So what they do is they provide a footing. They don't set it as an asset in the balance.
Fair enough.
sheet,
Okay.
But they do set it as a
Yeah,
footnote
yeah.
to note that it is an investment.
Yeah.
That we made. So I think that may be the direction that we'll go into.
Okay.
To
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be comfortable with it, obviously. I don't
Yeah.
want to do risky on the flip side.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting.
no. Good question. All right, so the pathways fund 2,000 year to date.
So before you move on from this one. While we might not be able to recognize it on the books, the idea about the way we set up pilot revenue, and we got to have a meeting with the city of Virginia. When we set it up to where the funding can come to us so that we can bind it out in the future. So although it may not show up directly on,
The other benefits.
there's a way for us to create more out of that revenue,
Yeah.
stream, but we got to build it up. Because we only have 6.
Well, and also,
portfolio.
in some cases, trying to leverage our position for fund additional activity.
Yeah.
That might be way for us to,
So for example, we just talked about the need for soft dollars. And we need a consistent revenue stream for soft dollars. Well, we do have a revenue stream now, with pilot program, but we're gonna build it up. So at 6 deals in the portfolio now versus 20, 30, 50 at some point down the line, and it has some value to it that can be securitized. So we have to just keep putting deals in.
Yeah.
In the market.
All right. So 2,000 in revenue year to date, in the Pathways portfolio, 38,000 year to date. On the expense side. And then we move to our cash and cash equivalents. So as of the end of November, 8.3, which is now 100,000. Questions or the comments? No. That's all I have.
So we do have a capital budget that Byron and I have been working on. We can give you a draft today, but there's still some tweaks we need to make to it, and we can present this early next year. You know, it's something that the board wanted to see. We have our operating budget. Legally, we're not required to do.
that's what I was
capital
gonna
budget.
say, yes.
So you don't have to
Yeah,
approve
right,
that right now, but it is a tool that we,
Yeah.
you know, we think you need to have. So we'll give you, at least the finance committee, a draft of that today, so you can start looking at it and giving us some feedback. It's the simple sources and uses for next year. That includes the operating dollars, but also looks at how we plan to use those reserve funds to support projects. And what kind of dollars are we bringing in? For example, how much is gonna come through the bond market versus how much is gonna come through the TVA mortgage market? And how that's gonna affect our balance sheet. So we've never really taken a look at that because frankly, we were just, single family, and really didn't need to
Right.
do that type of exercise. But now with the way that finance authority is involved, the exercise is necessary. So we'll give you a copy of that and then have you look at it. And then we can come back to the rest of the board next month to do a clean version.
I mean, it looks like, is any, public comment? Otherwise. we adjourn.
No public comments.
No. I hear